So we've been talking about the offensive woes yesterday against the Buffalo Bills. Sam Howell throws 4 interceptions.
A lot of woe.
Antonio Gibson had another fumble. He's
Yeah,
not going to hit your bet. I know that. Do you want to buy out?
How much was the bet? Was it like $10?
You bet Gibby combined 900 yards, I believe.
Yeah.
He's not even going to come close to that.
Will
he may be cut this week.
Will he get 190 yards?
Well, you know what else? I should have listened to Valdez. Shouldn't have gone over the receiving yards for Jahan Dotson because he ain't getting there.
Probably should not have.
He's not getting to, 735, something like that.
I mean, he could get there, but
no, he's
his
not
role is going to have to really expand quickly.
I believe the bet book is by you, Cakes. You can revisit all the offensive bets that were made. But we're wondering, all right, it's 3 games in. They are 2-1. If you want to take it positive, everybody expected them to lose to the Buffalo Bills. But troubling signs yesterday, and we're looking at an offense that's actually statistically worse than Scott Turner's offense. It's through 3 games, basically scoring the same, I think about 50 yards less per game so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
What should they do to kind of right the wrongs? I am positing a little more balance so that you can have more effective play action with Sam Howell, and maybe that will just relieve some pressure on Sam Howell. We talked about it before. He's dropping back, particularly in the first half, at like 4-1 compared to the runs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you actually think about the drives yesterday, the first drive of the game, first drive of the second half, they were pretty balanced and they were moving. Now, they ended up in disaster with interceptions, but they were moving the ball.
I don't care that much about balance. Just if you're killing the other team doing whatever, keep doing that. But, yeah, if you want to take some of the pressure off of Sam Howell, you might want to try to keep your guy running the ball who's averaging 6.5, 7 yards per carry. Keep him running the ball if you can. Because the score did not get out of hand until late in that game. Like, pretty late, it was still 16-0. Now, it seemed like it was 36-0. Like, you didn't think the Commanders were ever going to come back and get rid of that 16-0 deficit, but it wasn't a blowout until late.
No.
Like, you didn't have to punt the run so early.
But the question is, for me, is you brought Bieniemy in not to shorten the game.
Brought him in to help you score.
You brought him in to speed up the game offensively for them and to score more points. But after a game like that last night or yesterday, you're now talking about going to a different sort of mindset and shortening the game by having more balance, taking the ball out of the opposing quarterback's hands like a Jalen Hurts, running Brian Robinson a little bit more. So my question is that Ron Rivera going to Eric we've got to change some things, or is Eric Bieniemy kind of the de facto head coach saying, we're doing it my way, I don't care about the results?
I think it's Bieniemy.
That's the question I would have.
Bieniemy has autonomy with the offense.
He does for now. That's what I think.
I think he probably does.
That's what's been reported.
I think he probably does, but Ron Rivera is the head coach. And if Ron Rivera sees something that's not working, he's got to say, not happening. Now, I don't know what that relationship's like, and I'm not sure how vocal Ron is in these coaches meetings, but
I don't think it works.
I don't know
that
if
way,
you
Jason.
can just. I don't know if you can drop back your quarterback, especially a bunch in the first half, if he's getting peppered with defensive line.
I don't think a coach just goes in and goes, no, not half. I think you go in there and you ask him, all right, why are we doing this? Why? And you listen, because they might have an answer for you.
Okay, maybe, but if he disagrees, the head coach has to make the decision. Unless Eric Bieniemy's running the show.
I mean, I think there's a reason why they met for 3 or 4 days before he got the job.
So
we'll see. All right,
we'll see if it changes.
Let's go to Mo in Largo. Mo, what's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
And I think the conversation is finally starting to get to where it needs to be. Don't get me wrong, my man Howell, he bombed, he had an F. But Bieniemy has a lot to do with this. And if you look at the scheming, okay, like you said, we're pass happy with a terrible offensive line. It's much easier for an offensive line to gain momentum when you're implementing run plays because they enjoy moving forward. It's a lot easier to move forward than it is to stand still and hold your ground, okay? The 5-to-1 ratio is ridiculous. I mean, if you look at that first drive where we were moving down the field, we got all the way down there to the red zone, and then he turned into Scott Turner on us. Okay, I mean, we were getting 5, 6, 7 yards of play on the run. Now, granted, I understand you don't like it on first down, but when it's effective, you kind of have to go with what they give you. And it's almost like he has this demeanor amongst his play calling where, well, I'm going to call all these passing plays regardless of whether or not it works or not. And that's crazy. If you look at the game, the run sets up the pass. But when you come out there throwing 5 times and trying to run once, I mean, the defense gets they can hone in on what you're trying to do scheming-wise. So I really think that we need to get back to running the ball, and not just running the ball, but I mean under center. Get out of all of this play action from the shotgun RPO because they're not. It's supposed to be run-pass options, but they're not running. They're just passing. So, I mean, there has to be some type of play calling that's going to keep the defense off balance, but they got to get out of that shotgun. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, thank
and look,
you, Mo.
Howell needs to play better. I just looked at the numbers. All right, Scott Turner with Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke certainly wasn't good. They were the 21st ranked passing team at 204.2 yards per game passing. This year it's 182.3 yards, 24th. Rushing, this year they're at 106.3 yards per game. That's 16th middle of the pack. Last year they were 126.1 yards per game, 12th. Points basically the same, but they're averaging 288.7 yards per game. Last year, they were giving you 330 per game. Bieniemy was brought in to fix the offense, and right now they're 2-1, but right now they're 42 yards less per game than last season.
Let's just not get too crazy.
I agree.
We all knew
3
they were going
games.
to lose this game in all likelihood. We all picked Buffalo. They're probably going to lose next week.
Mhm.
Let's wait till I say week 6 now to make our grand proclamations.
But it does
I'll
have to,
agree with that.
But it has to get better, even against a better team. It has to get better.
Well, yeah, I mean, if
offensively.
they lose again next week, it's going to be another big red flag.
Did you have a problem with them going for the 4th down in the early second quarter?
I would have kicked it, but I'm a conservative, because I wanted to keep it. Now it's a 1-score game. I was just like, especially when the 3rd down play was so bad, I would have just kicked it.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm old school.
And
I
the
would have
4th,
gritted
but I
my
would've
teeth
kicked
and
it.
taken the points. I wouldn't have loved it because you're right there.
Yeah,
you're
the
knocking on
10-3,
the
so
knocking on the
one-score game now.
doorstep, and you want the 6 points.
But I think he's being consistent because how'd they win the game last week? They went for it on 4th down instead of kicking a
I think
field goal.
everybody goes for it on 4th down way too much.
And
I don't like it.
in theory, your defense, which right now is ranked middle of the pack if you look at the rankings for the NFL, but in theory, your defense pinning them down on the 1-yard line if you fail, which they did fail, that should be in your favor. The problem is the Bills flipped the field position.
Right. I understand why they did it,
look,
but I
3
would've kicked
games,
it.
I agree. 3 games is a small sample size, but right now, if you think about those first 2 games, they were wins, but they're trailing against not good teams. I know the Cardinals are maybe better than we expected. Denver got completely obliterated yesterday, and Miami's a very good team, but you got to look at the whole picture, right? So 12 quarters of football is a decent sample size. The offense is certainly not humming.
No.
I would love to be.
Far from
I
it.
would love to be. I know we're going to get to the calls, but I would love to be in the coach's room when they're looking at the tape on the 4th down play when Robinson just gets completely pummeled by was that Floyd on the
Doesn't matter.
whoever got
Not
to him.
sure.
Well, there's 3 commander offensive linemen blocking one of their tackles, one of their DTs, instead of helping out on the other side. Robinson's got no shot at blocking that guy. So what happens on that play? Well,
Howell throws the incompletion.
and it wasn't even close. I mean, he gets rushed.
He didn't have a lane.
And he's backing up, so he's throwing off his back foot.
There
but
was no passing lane.
there was nothing there, but there's the 2 guards in the center are blocking 1 guy.
The play was gross.
So I would look at that and go, what are we doing offensively on the line? We've got to help out on the edge rusher and help Robinson. Robinson's got no shot at blocking him.
And the 3rd down, they got blown up because Robinson got stuffed.
Yeah, I mean, what are they doing?
I hated the
The
3rd
line's
down
not good.
play as much as I hated the 4th down.
Well, that's just bad decision-making right there.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with not being good. That's just terrible decisions, or maybe it's schematic. I don't know.
All right,
Well,
let's go.
in the end
It's
of the
both.
season, we'll see. It may come down to just terrible personnel decisions that they thought was going to be an upgrade on the offensive
You're
line. They
making
moved on from Norwell.
huge
I know, but
let's
it's something that
let's
we're gonna
wait
look at.
before we do it.
Wiley
Let's
and
wait.
Gates were the additions.
Here's a minor tweak that I make. All of the targets you were giving to Gibby give those to Dotson and McLaurin going forward. Like, Gibby is no longer a part of the game plan. And I'm the Gibby guy. I planted the flag from day one. I was unaware when he came out of Memphis that he could not hold on to the football.
But here's the problem.
It's a flaw.
We overreact after a good game like he had against Denver. And then we say, oh, we got to give him the ball more.
Right. Well,
but now we're flip-flop.
This is me saying, don't ever give him the ball again. I've reached my breaking point.
I'm trying not to flip-flop. I'm trying to be even.
Oh, I'm not trying to be even keel.
I'm
not
trying
after
to be
a performance
even.
like that yesterday.
All right, let's go
I don't have to be
calls.
Sam Howell. I don't have to be stoic.
Let's go to James in Waldorf. James, what's up, man?
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
What's up?
I have nothing much. I was at the game yesterday, and I just want to point out three things. First of all, I want to agree with you, EB.
Mm-hmm.
No one expected this team to be real good. So at best, I was giving them 8-8. So I'm gonna say this with this. Again, it shows that these the upper management of the coaching is going to the bottom of the barrel, trying to patch these issues with the offensive line. If you look at the offensive tackle, the one that came from Kansas City, you watch him pass Wiley. He's in the backfield standing beside Howell. I've never seen an offensive tackle do not hold the ground. He's already backing up into him.
Mm-hmm.
The second point of that is that Bieniemy talks about that this is the first time Howell has done this. I have to remember this is his first time doing this. Bieniemy has to remember this is his first time doing this, and he doesn't have Mahomes. At the game, Howell needs to see his secondary and third receiver a little bit
I think he knows
better.
he doesn't have Mahomes at this point.
Or McCombs.
I think he's pretty well aware.
I understand that.
Yep.
The reason why I'm saying that because he's going too pass happy.
He's very pass happy for sure.
Yeah. And Howell needs to see that second and third wide receiver. On that first drive that they have down on that first interception, is either Robinson or Gibby was wide open in the flat that he could have hit that with that.
And Cole Turner was wide open too. Yeah.
I do think that one of Howell's flaws.
That's a bad decision.
And I think Howell is going to be okay. You just got to grin and bear it and fasten your seatbelt learning curve. We'll see, though. I'm always wrong, so I'll probably be wrong.
You're still betting on him being their starting quarterback next season?
I think he's got a great shot.
Confidence shaking a little bit.
Well, I mean, it was a horrible game. I don't know. I mean, listen, hold on. The whole staff is going to get blown out. If they do, well, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
But I think he could start in this league, and you can win with him. So
what's hard to tell for all of us is, and somebody tweeted about this, is you don't know how fast quarterbacks are with processing, right? It's hard for us to really see. Occasionally you'll see, there was a guy open, he didn't throw it to.
Right. If he can't process, then he'll fail. If he can't process, he'll fail. That's the number one thing you need. But maybe he is processing. Remember the stat I just gave you.
Possible.
If that's legit, and I don't even know where the hell. If they have the second most, you see the whole graph. We have the second most fully covered receivers in football. In other words, there's only one team that has their receivers covered more perfectly than we do. Then he's not seeing jack that's open. Now, there are obviously checkdowns that he's missing. Mm-hmm. But why are our receivers the second and by the way, I think the receivers are the strength of our football team, along with our defensive line. So fix that. The guy that's giving me this information is saying because there's not enough misdirection, there's not enough play action, there's not enough, all these different things. I don't know.
Well, you can't run play action if you never run the ball. People don't buy it.
Right.
And if your offensive line doesn't hold up well, that play action takes time.
Right.
I mean, that's a long, kind of drawn-out process.
Right. Do you want Howell turning his back on the defense?
It's a full-blown jailbreak all the time. Tough to run play
Remember
action.
that Arizona game, and they have arguably, now these guys are all elite athletes, but arguably a trash quarterback, trash team, right?
Yeah.
They were running misdirection against us all over the place in that first half, and they were successful. Well, I don't see any of that. I see very little of that with our team.
On the second pick where it was 3rd and 2, and he threw that pass out to the left to Gibby and got picked.
Where he jumped it?
By Hyde.
Yeah.
Look, there's 4 commander offensive linemen blocking 2 guys. Penza is just coming free willy.
Right. But it's also a bad throw because he threw it to the inside.
It's a terrible throw.
No, it's a bad throw.
But he has pressure in his face.
It's a rush throw, but my
throws.
point is something's going on with the line where they're missing guys. And there's no way 3 should be on 1 or 4 should be on 2.